Hey guys, it's a very cloudy day, very blustery. It's been raining all week, so it's very dark in here. Last night, I started thinking about something that happened to me years and years ago. And every time I think about it, it just gives me the chills. So I thought I'd share that with y'all today. I don't know why, other than it's cloudy today. Anyway, we bought an old farmhouse, my husband and I, and it was rather small. It had an upstairs, and he talked me into that. It was in the middle of 32 acres. He talked me into that. I didn't really want to do it, but I was trying to be a good wife. And he promised me that we would build onto it to make it larger, because at that time I was expecting my 4th child. So we bought it. And by the way, our house was in the middle of 32 acres, and our closest neighbor was Hank Williams Jr. We shared the driveway. He drove like a maniac on that road. 2 cars couldn't pass. Anyway, just a little side note there. And no, we were not friends with him. We only met him a couple of times, and no big deal about that. But anyway, so we lived there probably 3 years with no build on. Now this was a new I was going to say new experience for me, because he didn't talk much. We weren't close. I don't know any other way to explain it. But so I just took the initiative and went, I'm building onto this house. I worked my butt off in my workroom. That's just right up the road. We built a little cabin for a workroom. Curtains. That's all I've ever done except teach school. But anyway. So, and he had a good job. He had a very good job. We were not rich or anything. We just made it just like everybody else. But we both worked. So we built on. Then we had this big house. We had 7 bedrooms. And later, my mom sold the cabin where we worked. So I had to put my workroom upstairs in the 2 extra bedrooms that were there originally in the house. So, trying to get to the point, but my husband got fired, and he neglected to tell me. He would make an excuse every 2 weeks because I paid the bills. I knew what the finances were. I kept up with everything because he was not dependable in that area. And he made up an excuse from this big company that he worked for. Like, oh, they got a new payroll person and they're late, or the machine broke down. I mean, it was something for 3 months. And I, being who I am, believed him. I don't know why. Long story short, I found out he lost his job. He got up every day and put on a suit and went to work. God knows where he went. God knows where he went, because I didn't. He certainly didn't go to work. I just couldn't take the deception and the crazy money things anymore. So we separated, with the intention of getting a divorce. So I'm in my workroom one day. All the kids are at school, 3 of them. I have a baby. She's upstairs with me in the workroom in a playpen, playing happily with toys. She's just, maybe 10 months old. I don't know. And this was probably 1 o'clock. I heard someone down the steps in the kitchen. The steps had a wall in front of them, old-timey, where you'd go upstairs, but there was a wall on the side of the steps. So I heard someone in the kitchen, and I couldn't see down there. So I started down there thinking, Brandon, my oldest son, has come home from school. Of course, he was 16. He was driving. So that's all I could think of. So I started down the steps. And at that same time, the phone rang. Well, I own a business, so I went back upstairs to answer the phone. Well, it was my husband. He wanted to talk about our situation, and I'm thinking we talked for almost an hour. And he mentioned that it was Friday night, so he was going to come and get our son, who was probably 5, and keep him all weekend. And the baby, she was just too little for him to keep on the weekend. So he was going to come get my son, our son. So okay, I went back to work. And then my little baby, she started getting fussy. So I thought, it's nap time. I'll fix her a bottle and go put her in the nursery and let her take a nap. She was, good about that. I could leave her. So I went downstairs to the nursery, gave her a bottle. I could tell she was about to go to sleep. So I went back upstairs to work. Okay, later that afternoon, my daughter, after everybody got home from school, I actually think my husband picked up 2 of the children and brought them home. Like I said, my son could drive, so he didn't even come home. I mean, he was just, a teenager. So he came, and he brought a movie. They were called Beta. I know you don't know what that is, but they were like a circle, like a record, like a disc, and you would hook it up to your TV, and it would play a movie. And my daughter, who was probably 11, maybe, and my baby were going to be at home alone. So we were going to watch Let's Throw Mama from the Train. Have you ever heard of that movie with Billy Crystal? Which I have never watched to this day, by the way, and refuse to. But that was our plan. So, okay, my husband left with my son, and, we ate dinner, fooled around, and then decided to watch the movie. It was getting dark. I think my older son, had called and told me that he was going to his girlfriend's house and he would be home later that night. Okay, everybody's settled. My 2 daughters and I are at home. So, I start the movie and I say, let me change the baby. Would you run in the bathroom, to my older daughter, and get me a pamper? So yes, she went through the kitchen into the bathroom to grab a pamper, and she came back and handed me a pamper. And right up above us, we were in our den, and right up above us we heard the awfulest noise. And I knew immediately what it was. That was my workroom. The ironing board had fell over and the iron had rolled. I mean, I knew what it was immediately because I knew where it was in the workroom. Well, I knew it didn't fall by itself. And my daughter Ashley looked at me and she said, I heard someone walking up the steps when I passed, Mom. And I said, go get in the car. She opened the door. We were right there by the door in the den. She opened the door and started to the van. My keys were right there. I grabbed the baby and we got in the van and left. So I was going to my mom's because I knew someone had to be in the house, or a ghost or something. It scared us to death, so we were leaving. My mom lived in the city, in town, so we had to drive probably 12 miles, and we're almost at my mom's house, and I pull up to a stop sign, and it hits me. It felt like cold water being poured over me. I remembered someone whistling in the kitchen hours before. someone had been in my house all afternoon. I mean, it was like 8:30 at this time. They had been in my house. You say, how does that happen? Well, the house had 7 bedrooms, and it was circular, like you could go from this way to that way to get to the same place. So there was many places to hide. And no one had been home to be in those bedrooms where my children were, lived. So I went to my mom's and I said, someone is in the house. They'd been there all day. I just realized that. So, of course, we called the police and went back up there. No one was there. Police went through the whole house. The ironing board was up. The iron was on the ironing board. Okay, it was a big house. We had 5 exterior doors that were never locked. People, they were never locked. This was a long time ago, and we felt safe. We lived in the middle of 32 acres. Now, you know that whoever that was in my house had to know me. I mean, they didn't happen upon us. So I've often wondered what might have happened had the ironing board not been knocked over, because I know that's what it was. It gives me the chills to think about it. If they were lying in wait until like we went to bed or whatever. The dogs see a car, they're barking. They are outside. Anyway, so after the police left, we went back to Mother's and I went, oh my God, Brandon will be coming home. And they still might be outside somewhere, because we didn't lock the doors when we left after the police left. So we got back in the car. This was like 11. We got back in the car, drove back up there, which took a few minutes, 20 minutes to get there. Sure enough, Brandon's car was there. He had an entrance on the side. He had just walked in his room, and whether we were home or not, he didn't care. He just went to bed. So we had to wrestle him up, and get him out of there. It took me days to go back to my home because I was alone with these children. But that's my scary story. But you know what could have happened? I might have ended up dead. You understand? I don't know about my girls, but anyway, that's my scary story. I just had to tell you because it's weighing on my mind. I need to get my dogs in, because it's misty out there, they're going to smell really good. Okay, I will see you next time.